when you're taking risks, things can go wrong.
There's been multiple times where we've had plenty of struggles in the business where I've not been able to sleep, a few hours a night, waking up super anxious.
The country needs investment and cash, but my question is that cash being spent efficiently? I'm very driven, very entrepreneurial. I'm a risk taker. Running a business is like getting kicked in the dick every day. What, you're on Joe Rogan's podcast?
Yeah.
Chris Williamson's podcast?
Yeah.
Oh no, Matt Holland's
No,
podcast.
Matt Holland. She was like, what? Matt Holland's doing a podcast?
And I think entrepreneurs are very frugal with their money. We invest in people, we invest in equipment, and we're careful with how we spend our money.
Those are the thoughts that go through your head every day.
So hello everyone, welcome to British Business with Matt Holland. I'm sat here today with Tom McIlvenny, my co-host for this podcast. It's our first episode, so be kind to us. Tom, how's your week going?
Yeah, week's been good so far. It's great to be here as well to help you with this podcast.
Yeah.
So yeah, excited for it.
Excellent. We were just saying before we jumped on, the wives know we're here, don't they?
Well, yes, yeah, they do now. Mine certainly didn't know until sort of late last night when I dropped it on her. I said, "Yeah, I'm not going to work tomorrow, darling. I'm off tomorrow." She thought, "Brilliant. Are we going out? What are we going to do?"
Yeah.
I said, "Oh no, I'm going on a podcast." And
she's like, "What?"
Yeah, which podcast you going on? Who is it? And she reeled off a few that I listened to. I was like, "No. I'm going on with Matt Holland."
What? So you said, yeah. So she said, "What? You're on Joe Rogan's podcast?"
Yeah.
Chris Williamson's podcast.
Yeah.
Oh no, Matt Holland's
No,
podcast.
Matt Holland. She was like, "What? Matt Holland's doing a podcast?" It's like, "Yeah."
There we are. Excellent. Yeah, I mean, obviously, first time we've done it.
Yeah.
So let's see how it goes. I've wanted to do something like this for a little bit, outside of comfort zone, pushing ourselves, uncomfortable, all those kind of lovely things. I remember a few weeks ago when I was kind of like playing with it. Well, I've been thinking about it for a long time. But I was having a bit of a chat with my sister Sarah. We have our like little sit down catch up. Sarah's one of our directors in my business, and I was like, "Oh, I've got something else to tell you." She was like, "Oh God, here we go again, another crazy
What's
idea.
he doing now?
What's he doing now?
Yeah.
What's he been scheming on?" And I was like, "I'm going to do a podcast." And she's like, "Yeah, no, we're going to do a podcast for the business. That's a great idea." I was like, "No, I'm going to do my own podcast."
Yeah.
And I think it took a little bit of time to settle in. Like, why is Matt doing that?
Yeah.
And then I mentioned it to my brother Rob, again, director in the family business. There's a theme here: business, family, us. And Rob was like, "How are you going to find the time to do that?" So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how we get on today. Obviously, we're shooting a couple of episodes, and yeah, hopefully we enjoy it and it goes to plan.
Yeah, I'm sure we will.
But yeah, no, I mean, from your end, you've had it's. I mean, what day are we on today? Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah.
It's midway through the week. Are you surviving? How's it going?
Yeah. Surviving, yeah. I mean, obviously, get into the flow of things, get into a Monday morning, obviously, deal with the problems that face as soon as you walk in the office.
Yeah.
Having been shut down from sort of Saturday afternoon, Sunday and things.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've always got to start Mondays as, in the right mindset, I suppose, which I try and do myself.
So tell us a little bit, Tom, about your kind of background, because obviously we're sat here on a business podcast.
Yeah.
I would hope that you know how to run a business.
Some probably don't think I...
Yeah. I mean, we do make it up as we go along, both of us. But yeah. So what do you do for a living?
Yeah, so e-commerce online, so selling... on avenue85.co.uk.
Oh, yeah, that's the little plug straight away.
Get that in, hope that's all right.
Any discount codes?
Yeah, if you want to use, what should we have?
No.
Pod 10 for 10% off, yeah.
Excellent.
No, yeah, so e-commerce, all online, avenue85.co.uk. Selling basically outdoor lifestyle products, so anything that's functional for the family to go walking in, some good brands, if we can name them, sort of Regatta, Trespass, Berghaus, Jack Wolfskin, Echo, and then also the lifestyle brands, so anything coastally that you'll go to the beach with in summer, on the summer holidays, your Rip Curls, your Roxys, your Billabongs, your Quicksilvers and such like that.
Because you're a family business as well, like my business, but I'll tell the camera and the listeners about mine in a minute. But so you work with your brother,
correct,
full time partnership, get things done together.
Yeah, strong partnership. Yeah, so myself and my brother both owners of the business. I mean that really came about in 2017. Prior to that, we were two separate businesses. I got into selling online. God, way back as soon as I finished university, basically.
So you copied Big Brother then?
I did, yeah. Well, that's what you got. That's the advantage of being the younger sibling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No. In all seriousness, I could see him doing quite well because he was 2 years before me into e-commerce. And he was with a business partner at the time. They were buying end of line products, clearance products, and putting it on eBay. And then a few years after on Amazon. And we could see they were doing making a good living out of it. And I could just see that sort of blueprint. I thought, they're doing great selling these obscure products like running spikes and wrestling suits. And I thought, I'm going to get into this industry and this game and sell something that I knew a little bit more about, which is more the casual branded clothing. And that's how I sort of fell into it.
Well, I think at this point, obviously I'll introduce myself in a moment, but it's worth mentioning, like, the format of this podcast and the episodes. It's going to be very conversational. Yeah, we're just going to have a bit of a chat about our problems.
Yeah, let it roll.
Business problems, not personal problems.
Of course.
But I think, like, your story is really, really interesting, and I think a lot of people that are like thinking to get into business or are in the early days, at some point in the future episodes, I'd like to do a bit of a deep dive into like how you got started in a lot of detail. But these days, obviously, you're an 8-figure business. You're doing some quite decent turnover, making money as well, which is always important.
Absolutely.
How many guys do you employ, Tom?
So we've got currently 14 staff at the moment.
Yeah. All UK based.
All UK based, all in the warehouse or office in the High Peak where we're based. We do flex up in busy periods, such as peak, as I'm sure you do the same thing, or I know you do the same thing, where we'll take on additional staff to help that workload, and that'll be another sort of 5 to 6 people to help us out.
Yeah. And it's quite, my business is very seasonal, and I'll loop in that in a sec, but yours isn't quite as seasonal. You get busy in November, December, but it's not like a massive, it's an uptick, but not like a quadrupling of revenue, is it?
Yeah. For us, because we, less so compared to your business where you are more winter orientated. Obviously, we're busy at Christmas because of Q4 and people buying Christmas gifts and presents for for one another. But outside of that, summer's still relatively good for us based off the nature of the products that we sell. Yeah,
that's excellent. Well, if anyone listening wants to know more about either of our businesses, just ask some questions in like the comments on any of the channels. Yeah, and I'm sure we'll be able to answer them as long as it's stuff that we can talk about.
Yeah, and we'll be open with everything.
We'll be as open as we can be. Yeah. So Tom's in online retail. I'm coincidentally in online retail as well. We kind of got to know each other through networking. I think originally it was to do with paid advertising agencies.
Yes, it was.
And maybe we'll loop in on that at some point. But my business, I run a company called William Swindles Limited. We've got a few different brands. We've got Holland's Country Clothing, Holland's Workwear. We've got Serious Country Sports now that we bought the brand and the website. We're going to be launching that again later this year. We're getting into commercial property a little bit, and lots of different things we're working on.
Lots of things going on.
Yeah, it doesn't stop.
No.
It never stops. Like, I had a bit of a salty email this morning from someone. And it's like you just roll with the punches.
Daily occurrence, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like, I think, again, just kind of on like Instagram this morning, watched a reel from Alex Hormozy, and he talks about, and I'm a bit of a fan of his, I just think he's very, what's the word? He's very like academic in his approach to entrepreneurship and business. It's very theoretical, and I quite like that. Yeah. Because some of the confusion and the madness that we encounter on a day-to-day basis, to kind of try and theorize the chaos, I think is quite nice. But the quote goes basically, he said, and it's not one of his best ones, but I think it is one of his best ones. Yeah. He basically talks about how running a business is like getting kicked in the dick every day, repeatedly.
Multiple times.
Yeah. And then there's like a glimmer of hope, and things start to go well, and then you get kicked in the dick again, and then that carries on for a while, and then it stops and things get better. And he says, like, basically, it's just about getting used to getting kicked in the dick, which business podcast, getting kicked in the dick, I do think there's some comparisons.
It's absolutely true. Yeah. I mean, even week by week or day by day, or even by the hour, you can be great in the morning, had it loads of times, all of a sudden, bad email like you got, or something's gone wrong with some products or your marketing channel or something like that, and then all of a sudden the sky's falling and you think, oh my God, how are we going to deal with this? And that's just part of the parcel.
And I think, like, to link in, obviously we're in episode 1. The title of this episode I've gone for "Business is Hard."
Right, yeah, well, it certainly is. Yeah, that's a great headline.
And like, I think for me and my entrepreneurial business journey, it's been really, I found it really difficult, like adapting to it on a personal level as well. Like, I'm not a character that is without flaws. Like, I've got pros and cons to me. I'm sure my brother and sister who run my business with me would give you the long list of problems with me. But I think
maybe we should get them on an episode.
Yeah, maybe.
They might tell us a few things.
It'll be probably a bit more like a therapy session for me, I suspect, or an intervention perhaps. But I suppose I wanted to do the podcast because I feel like it is a lonely place. And it can be quite difficult, and we're both, like, I'm obviously managing director of my business, my brother and sister run it with me, and we don't make decisions without kind of everyone on board. But some people are, like, I took Arthur climbing in, like, we're in Manchester, UK, obviously, for people listening, so I took Arthur to there's a business called I think it's The Ridge. It used to be called Road Race.
Mark.
So a climbing centre. He's 6, just getting into kind of like activities
in the deep end.
Trying to encourage him to do stuff. But there was this lady there. She's actually just taken over like the cafe area, and I get really excited being around someone like that. She's just starting out. She's just taken over. She's full of excitement and energy. She's selling pies. What's that pie brand in Manchester called? They've got a few stops. A few shops. They do like cheese pies. Yeah, a few different bits. It'll come to me in a minute.
It'll come.
Really good brand, and so she's supplied by them. So she's gone quite premium with the pies straight away. So she's doing pie, mash, gravy, and peas. And she's got like this menu, and it's like, I wasn't even hungry, but I was like, I want to get the best one at the bottom. Because I want to support you. Because I know it's hard. It's like, we're both in family businesses. We've got a decent amount of employees. Like you mentioned, was it 16?
16,
We've got more than that, interestingly. I think we're sat on about 24 at the moment in the UK. And we've got 7 people offshore as well now.
God, big team.
So people in India and the Philippines. And we'll talk more about our businesses. But just going back to this lady and this little cafe pie shop thing, she's at a stage where I look back fondly on those moments when it was just me and my uncle, me and Mark. Kind of like I was packing parcels at my grandma's kitchen table. And that period in business, it's the hardest bit in my opinion. But it's the most... It's the period I look back on most fondly. Because it was exciting. And you're learning all the time. By failure, and it's just it's great. So whenever I see a small independent business, I mean, even like Morgan, who's sat doing the recording there today, his business, he's giving it a go. Like,
good on him.
He's set up a podcast studio.
It's brilliant.
It's a great setup. Anyone needs a podcast studio, we'll put a link in the bio.
Get yourselves here.
There we are.
Oh,
definitely.
thanks, guys.
Commission. But like I look at Morgan's business and I'm like, God, it's so exciting. And I'm like looking at his website going, oh, maybe I'd do that slightly differently. But I think when you're entrepreneurial,
it's just in you.
It's just in you.
Absolutely.
I believe.
Yeah, it's something that you either have it or you don't.
Yeah, I think so. You've got that curious nature of, like you're saying about the lady with the pies in the climate centre.
Yeah.
You see that and you think, what would I be doing slightly differently here? Or how could I, you were looking at it from the aspect of how can I help her, support her, and also probably improve her business and make it easier for her on her entry into doing her own thing, which is, you know, good on you for doing that.
I said to her, how many days a week are you planning on being there? She's like, well, to be honest with you, it's just been non-stop.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. In the back of my head, I'm like, yeah, it's non-stop. And it's never going to get easier.
It won't get easier. Yeah.
I mean, I think it does get easier when you get more people, and we'll talk about people at some point because that's obviously a key component of business.
Yeah.
But she said straight away, so I was like, I countered that with, so it's just this you're doing? She's like, no.
Right.
I've got a job as well.
Yeah, good on her. So
and she's at that stage where she's working 2 days a week full time.
Yeah.
She's probably got family, kids, I would imagine. She's at that age, and she's probably got a partner. She's got a house to deal with.
Yeah.
All the problems.
Proper responsibilities.
And then the other 5 days a week, she's working in her own business.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow.
Need more people like that.
Well, I mean, one of the topics that I think we can touch on today is like conditions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, I mean, this is partly why I think it's important for us to do this podcast, because there's a lot of business owners in the UK, and that's why I wanted to be British. I mean, I'm quite a patriotic person, as you know, but maybe the listeners don't, and they will very soon. I think I'm passionate about the UK. I'm passionate about business. I think we should be proud to be British. Mm-hmm. But the conditions in the UK economy at the moment, and then like obviously the government and things like that, it's not easy.
No,
it's not easy. Like we both listen to James Sinclair's podcast.
Yeah, great podcast.
He talks about turnover taxes a lot and how much of a nightmare that is, like VAT, and it's not easy. Not
easy for any business, especially after the recent budget. It's the tide's against most business owners now. And it's just going to make it harder. But that's something that's got to deal with and overcome.
And I think the way people should look at it is like, by this kind of like this dial being turned up, difficulty modifier,
the intensity,
the intensity, the pressure in the pressure cooker being turned up. In a way, I mean, overall, it's not great because some businesses that would have continued to exist are not going to. But for the guys and ladies that are still in business and still going in 12 months' time, the market kind of opens up. Opportunities will come because things are getting more difficult. So people that are in business that maybe they're borderline entrepreneurial, or they're in business maybe by accident, because that happens a lot with family businesses.
It will.
Those kind of people, that it might fizzle out for them. And that's where I think people that are trying to develop themselves, develop their business, looking for opportunities, the world's your oyster, really. Yeah,
it will. It will be. There will be more opportunities that come, won't there? And business can be a lonely place, and fortunately we've got one another to what we're doing today, to bounce ideas off and help other people if we possibly can in any way.
I mean, I went through a lot of challenges in my business in 2023, which you know about, and we'll talk about at some point in the future. But during that process, I realised that, like me, my brother and sister, we needed to get out more and speak to other entrepreneurial people to find out, are we doing this the right way?
Yeah.
And I suppose that process, like, it led me to reaching back out to you guys and you and your brother. Yeah. And loads of other people, like James from NutriSeed is a great guy. I think a lot of him, like he's got a fantastic business in NutriSeed, and he's just taken over another business, but that's quite early on at the moment. So he's making moves. He's going for it because conditions are hard.
Yeah.
Like, and I think businesses and like community, it's good to pull together. So I went through a process of going through that failure and that struggle, and you need to. Like, you do need that reassurance that, you know what I'm actually doing, I am on the right path.
Yeah. Because you need some guidance and some help. Without that, you're behind like a closed door of, you only know your business and the four walls that you operate in your office, and you're thinking, you see these things online, people on social media and other places showing screenshots of revenue and how well they're doing, etc. But then, that puts a perspective in your mind of, oh my God, I'm clearly not up to this, I'm not right for this. And like that imposter syndrome, everyone gets that. I mean,
100%.
Multiple times every week.
Yeah, I mean, just like doing this podcast, this is outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
I last night didn't sleep very well. I was very anxious and nervous about doing it.
I slept like a log because it's...
Did you? Because it's not yours?
Yeah, because I thought, you know what? I'll just turn up tomorrow. Yeah, I thought we were going to the gym. You told me, meet at 7 o'clock. We're going to Total Fitness. I thought, all right, great.
We're just going to go and film a few hours of podcasting. What?
And here we are. What's happened now? Yeah. But no, it's great. It's great.
Yeah, stitch-up job. But yeah, I think this podcast it's going to be a good little therapy session for me and you as well.
Yeah,
I suspect.
Yeah, definitely.
Just to talk and have a bit of a whinge about maybe. Obviously, we can't talk about specific issues, but we can talk about subjects and challenges and like everything that a lot of people will know from what they're doing. But also to serve perhaps a bit of inspiration that when you're in that pain environment where you're failing, you're struggling, you're trying something, it's not working, that you've just got to keep going. You've just got to keep trying it.
Resilience.
Resilience and just pushing it.
Yeah, that's ultimately it, because it is hard and testing. And like you say, like last night you didn't sleep very well. There's been multiple times where we've had plenty of struggles in the business where I've not been able to sleep, you know, a few hours a night, waking up super anxious. Oh my God, sky's falling. What are we going to do? We're going to lose the business if this doesn't go right, or you know, if we don't get this opportunity or it doesn't go our way. And those are the thoughts that go through your head every day. And like you're talking about like windows and waves before, like the Alex Hormozy, you know, getting kicked in the nuts and things like that. And you've just got to expect it, haven't you? And understand that even when times are good, there are challenges coming around that corner that you don't even know about yet. And you won't even be able to predict what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, me and Sarah, like, I'm obviously a bit of a problem for... Yeah. I'm a problem and a great thing for Sarah and Robert because I'm...
A blessing and a curse.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like... Yeah, there's two sides to me in the sense that I'm very driven, very entrepreneurial. I'm a risk taker.
Yeah.
But when you're taking risks, things can go wrong. So it's like you take a punt and you go, right, we're gonna have a go at this and see what happens. Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't work out.
No.
But something I have learnt over the last few years is like try not to, and it's Jeff Bezos.
Mr.
Amazon.
Jeff,
your mate.
Oh, my pal,
because Tom sells on Amazon. For context,
at the mercy of Jeff,
as well as Shopify, which is where my business is. Obviously predominantly there. But Jeff Bezos talks about like don't walk through or go through doors that are one way.
Yeah. Good point.
So when you're like balancing and working out decision making in your business, and it applies to life in general.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Like don't go through a doorway without serious consideration if it's a one-way doorway. Yeah. And I think that's something that I've really learnt through burning myself, pain and suffering, of going through those doors, thinking that they are, I can come back through this, no problem.
Yeah.
I think when you do look at it, though, there aren't many doors that are one way. You can reverse things, but it comes at a cost.
Yeah, I was about to say.
So it's like you go through the door, there's a price tag to the handle the first time.
The entry,
You go through it, you might spend a bit of time there, spending a bit of money, trying this new idea that you've got. And then you look behind you and you go, okay, now that door, that door's an expensive doorway to go back through. But
there's the exit cost.
You have to do that.
Yeah.
Like this lady with the pie set up at the climbing place, like she's had her setup costs.
Yeah.
She will have had to buy a load of frozen pies. And like it's irrespective of the monetary value. It's still that risk that she's taken.
Yeah.
And I think, like entrepreneurship and business, there's been so many like, I mean, we play by the rules basically. We get dictated by the government. This is the rules you've got to play by. You stick within them. Goalposts have been moved a little bit at the moment,
multiple times.
And it's been a very I think the COVID period for business owners is just an absolute nightmare to try and navigate. And I think there's a lot of businesses that are not around today.
Because of that.
Because of the pandemic, because of how challenging it was. So some businesses, and that's why, I mean, we failed and we hit a bit of a challenging period in 2023. We had to do a pre-pack administration deal, so we went bust basically. Cash flow was a nightmare. We were making money, but just cash flow. Cash is king.
Biggest killer.
Yeah, so we had to do a pre-pack and navigate ourselves through that, and then we come out of it 2 years later. We're immensely profitable, doing really well. But you've got to remember those challenging times.
Oh God, yeah. And that process that you just spoke about there, that's made you look at your business and sort of future-proof it now, knowing where you made those mistakes that starved the business of cash and ultimately led to what it led to. Now you've got processes in place, and the way the business model's set up, you're never going to run out of cash again, because that was the ultimately the
but the interesting thing about that, and maybe at some point in the future we'll talk about that, but we've changed and pivoted our business model slightly. I don't think we would have done that if we hadn't been put in that difficult situation.
You have to learn.
So you need to fail.
Yeah.
And you need to take risks. And if you don't take those risks, you're sat in this situation where you will be overtaken.
Mm-hmm.
Other entrepreneurial people will be doing the same thing. Nothing has not been done before.
No.
Maybe there's someone listening to this, hopefully at some point, who's going to be a billionaire. That is a possibility, and that's exciting. The reality is that most people, most entrepreneurs can run a pretty decent sized business but you don't get to that top level without risking everything.
No. It's all risk and reward, isn't it?
Yeah. It's about tolerance for that.
Yeah. And just get used to it. You have to use it. And that's part of being resilient, because you'll get knockbacks, things won't go right, like you spoke about a few minutes ago. And now you're in a different, journey of the business, aren't you? Where it's, everything's fantastic,
But I think conditions are an important thing to touch on, because the goalposts are being moved a little bit. Taxes, we're quite a highly taxed country in the UK.
Yeah.
You've got turnover taxes, you've got profitability taxes, you've got insurance premium taxes. Like, everything that we do is taxed.
Yeah.
For us to take money out of our businesses, you've got to pay corporation. Well, you've got to pay your VAT, corporation tax. Then you've got to pay personal tax.
Pay the income tax,
And I think a few years ago, it used to be relatively well incentivised. Some listeners might be sole traders, and there's pros and cons of being a sole trader in a limited company.
Yeah.
Out of interest, Morgan, are you a limited company or are you a sole trader at the moment?
Still a sole trader.
Yeah, and it's this. It's that challenging decision to go limited or not, because then you immediately paying. Well, I think the lower rate of corporations is it 19%.
19%, all the way up to 25%.
Yeah, we're both on 25%. We're getting done over.
Oh yeah, 100%.
The country needs it. The country needs investment and cash. But my question is that cash being spent efficiently?
Yeah.
And I think entrepreneurs are very frugal with their money. We invest in people, we invest in equipment, and we're careful with how we spend our money. So I always think money left in companies, private wealth, is better. It's an opinion. But that's why.
I think you're absolutely right.
That's gives what podcasting's all about. Is those opinions.
Yeah, that's it. Whether they're controversial or you speak in the party line, I don't know. But it's difficult, and I think the government are faced with some challenges. Without getting too political, because it's a business podcast, but business is heavily influenced by politics.
Yep.
It's going to be really interesting 4 years that we've got with Labour. And I went into that kind of hopeful that there'd be some positive changes, but so far it's felt very negative towards entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Appears to me to be more of an attack on entrepreneurs. All the taxation, the changes in other things such as inheritance tax as well. Not that, I'm planning on anything like that anytime soon, but, we're in this for the long run, aren't we? And to create, a good life and wealth.
You want to create wealth for your staff. You want to create wealth for your family. All this risk taking. But my point is it goes back to risk taking.
Yeah.
And when you take risks, you should be rewarded
fairly.
And yeah, reasonably and fairly. I think in some countries it's too far the other way. I think we should be taxed.
Yeah.
I think if people are doing really well, they should pay tax, and actually paying taxes is a sign of success.
Yeah.
So I'm not against taxation, but it's just about balance, I think. And I think at the moment the balance has just tilted slightly too far. And you're seeing it in the press at the moment about loads of millionaires and people with cash and money.
Yeah, 10,000 exodus. Yeah.
It's crazy. And I'm sure I saw an article this morning saying that those 10,000 millionaires that have left the UK over the last 12 months, I mean, it's partially the Conservatives as well, because the Conservatives were doing nothing for entrepreneurs, in my opinion. They were because they did nothing, they were almost as bad as Labour. So it's like, I'm not sure what the solution is.
Yeah.
But those 10,000 entrepreneurs or business owners or wealthy people, millionaires, it's the equivalent of 500,000 people paying taxes into the system.
God.
So it's like, that was the little statistic, I think it was in the Times or something, it came up on Apple News this morning. I was like, that's very poignant. And
it'll probably happen again next year, if not more people.
Yeah, so without deep diving into it too much, just kind of a skim across the surface in this episode, I think it's something that is a big factor.
And this is why, what the podcast about business is hard. Taxation, for a start.
Yeah. I think I wrote down a few points actually, like why do I think business is hard?
Yeah.
And I've wrote down like challenges, so time.
Yeah, within the business or your own personal time. So
personal time, balancing that time.
Yeah, family, business.
Yeah, exactly. And then I've written down people, which huge thing. Like, I mean, that's a big topic that we'll talk about.
Yeah.
Kind of like finding good quality people that want to work, people that are enthusiastic about making a difference.
Yeah.
But part of that as well, to be fair, is about looking after your staff.
Yeah.
Recognising talent, rewarding people before. I really don't like business owners that are not forward thinking in looking after people.
Yeah.
You have to look after your people.
Yeah.
So if you don't look after your people, they're not going to look after you. Or your business is not going to care.
No, they'll just leave, won't they, ultimately?
Yeah.
Like,
or they'll do a bad job.
Or they'll do a bad job. They'll think, well, if that's what the condition's like, or that's what the pay is like, then in return, I will put in minimal effort. The bare minimum to do the role that they're required to do.
Yeah.
But you're right. Yeah, investing in good people. That's something that we, in our business, we need to really put at the forefront of our mind.
But it's challenging.
Yeah, because it times falls back to the first point that you said, the time.
Yeah.
Because your time in business is pulled from, especially in a small business.
Yeah. We're both small, but 8 figures, but I would classify that these days.
Yeah.
We're still in that kind of factor of being a small business.
Yeah, because we're a lean team and we have to be to operate and make money. Falls back to it being obviously difficult, but my time's pulled from dealing with some invoicing problems, sorting out the cash flow, accountant, operational problems, marketing, buying, all over the shop. And then the most important part, as you spoke about there, point 2, being people. Without good people, you haven't really got a business in a sense that is sustainable, but it's having the time to invest in those people, either in training or developing and rewarding them.
Yeah, and I think sometimes you overlook the importance of people, and sometimes like when things aren't going well in your business, like I've been through stages where things aren't going well, you kind of get into this blame culture of like, is that person pulling the weight? Is this person pulling the weight? And when things are not going to plan, as leaders and business owners, you have to behave as if they are going to plan. You have to continue to invest in marketing. You have to continue to invest in people. You have to make sure your wages are competitive. There's this horrible thing, and I really hate it, but I can see why it happens. It's this concept of quiet quitting.
Oh God!
I don't know if you've seen it online. I'm just like, I do get it to a certain degree, because if people aren't feeling valued, why would they work hard?
Yeah.
But then my mindset, and I think it's understanding that not everyone is the same as me or you, that they need to feel recognised and rewarded and looked after. And if you don't do that, people become an issue. So I think it's important to include that in our kind of top reasons why business is hard.
Yeah.
I've also wrote down, we've talked about this a little bit, experience, so growth through failure, like learning from those mistakes. I think that's really important to think about, kind of your experience as a business owner and entrepreneur. And you can do all the courses you want, you can go to all the seminars you want, but the only way you learn is by failing.
By doing,
and doing and failing.
There's all that 10,000 hours, isn't there, and all that, and strongly believe time served. That's what makes a great person in an industry, is they've been there and done it.
Yeah.
That's why I like to, we're very close, we network with one another, talk all the time, don't we? But I like talking to people that are 20 years ahead of me, that are running businesses, even not in the same industry as what we do. My father-in-law is a great example, father as well. Like, my father-in-law is in a completely different industry, done well, ran a business for 40 years.
Yeah.
But he faced the same challenges as I do, just in a completely different industry. People, time, cash flow problems. I'm pretty sure of that, and navigating through marketing and getting more customers and everything that we face. Yeah, it's all the same.
It's really hard. There's a chap that I obviously won't name him, but there's a guy that I know. He runs another online retail business, and they're going through some tremendous challenges at the moment.
Right.
And very similar to things that I've been through in the past. So I'm kind of like, me and him are chatting a little bit, and I'm supporting him. But I look at him and I go, if he can just persevere, if he can keep going, keep stepping on that treadmill, just keep plodding along, he is learning so much right now. Yeah. And he has the capability, I believe, if he can pull through it, to then succeed. Yeah. And it's just having that mindset where you just don't give up. And it's a lot of people, there's a bit kind of like, you go on Instagram, these motivational like shorts and stuff like that. I do quite like them because it kind of fires me up.
Gives you a kick.
Yeah, gives me a little kick. I like it, and pours petrol on the already burning fire in my belly. They're sometimes a bit cringy, but actually that mindset, your mindset is huge. And that's maybe not a reason why business is hard, obviously, but it's maybe something you can counteract the fact that business is hard is your mindset. Couple of other points just to close off our first episode. So cash is a big thing. We touched on that.
Every business has a problem with cash.
Profitability. Yeah. Like you can be sat on a load of cash, but if you're not profitable, you're not in a good position.
No, that's very true.
People sometimes they talk a lot about revenue. Doesn't matter
if you're not making any money.
Yeah, exactly. You can be doing all the revenue in the world. No. But if you're paying Google, if you're keeping
Google, the Google tax.
Business, yeah. I mean, how much do you pay to Google a year?
Oh, God.
Go on, spill the beans.
Google, well, collectively, Google, Meta, like 1.4, 1.5 million.
Yeah, a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a big proportion of your turnover.
Massive, yeah.
And like some online retailers, some businesses, they have costs like that. Like if you're in the hospitality game,
that'd be rent.
One of your biggest costs is is rent, rates,
staff,
and or labour. Labour is huge in hospitality, and controlling these costs. Like it's a challenge. That Google spend for us similar numbers to you. If you're not careful, before you know it, if you're not monitoring it, you go, oh shit, we're not making any money.
Yeah, you can be a busy fool. Yeah, you can be idiot. All of a sudden packing loads of orders.
Yeah, we've all
operationally, you think great things are fantastic. It's not until you start.
This is exciting.
Yeah. The adrenaline's going. The dopamine, the feel good factor is like, right, great, we're doing something.
Must be doing well.
Yeah.
Must be doing well.
And then you look at the cash balance keep dropping, and you're thinking, what's going wrong here? And it's all about controlling those costs.
Yeah. And kind of point 6 on that was conditions, which we've talked a lot about. I've whinged a little bit about the government, but there's market conditions as well, the trajectory of the economy, which does impact business. Yeah. So I think that rounds us off nicely for episode 1 of British Business with Matt Holland. Yeah. I think we'll just maybe finish on, if you've enjoyed today's episode, make sure you subscribe, follow us on the channels. My Instagram's in the message at the bottom in the description. So follow me there. Maybe drop me a message if you've got any questions for me or Tom. You can find Tom on LinkedIn probably. I think
LinkedIn.
So we'll have some links in there for Tom. If you've got any thoughts on topics you'd like us to cover, let us know. I think format wise, as we progress through the episodes, we'll be looking to deep dive a little bit more into some of the topics we've touched on today. And at some point in the future, I'd like to maybe get some guests on. So if you're listening to this and you'd like to share your entrepreneurial business story, and I think the key point there is story, because I'd love to connect with people and get people on who want to tell about the early days when it was exciting.
Oh yeah, the best bits.
Yeah, the best bits when it was raw, when you fail, when you having to do 5 people's jobs, all those things. Yeah. So I think that's been great, Tom. Thank you for joining me on this, and hopefully it's going to be a really good journey for both of us.
I'm sure it will. Both
definitely outside of my comfort zone.
Mine too. But this is what it's all about. As we talked about resilience before and other challenges, this is just a personal thing that we can overcome, can't we? We enjoy it.
Exactly. Yeah. Excellent. Do more, be uncomfortable.
Exactly. I like that. Excellent. Do more, be uncomfortable.
That's it. Cheers.